Yes, hi guys, I'm Henri Zietsman. I'm from Amazon Web Services, as you know. I look after startup programs across Africa, and I'm part of a team of entrepreneurs all over the world, and our goal is to assist startups to scale and to grow. So today I'll give you an introduction to all the startup programs that is around within Amazon Web Services. In a way, you can call them strategic partnership opportunities for startups. I find these slides very useful because when I did my startup, I wish I knew about all these programs. So I think this will be invigorating, and I look forward to speak to you afterwards as well. So as you know, every day AWS is adding new server capacity to support Amazon.com when we were 7 billion global enterprise. 190 countries. We have 18 regions, 54 availability zones, and effectively from a startup point of view, it means that you can build on the cloud and pay only for the resources that you consume. In other words, you are not launching your server, having to deploy it somewhere, having to maintain it, having to operate it, etc. It also gives you as a startup the opportunity to try new things and switch it off when it does not work, which in the past was really not that simple. And that's why we see so many new startups coming out in the world. You will see news such as Standard Bank going all in recently on AWS. And from a fintech startup point of view, that is really good news, right? You also know that guys like Netflix is leveraging Amazon's availability zones all over the world and the regions to deliver their content. So who do we help, for example, in South Africa? I wanted to take this time to reflect on customers that are on AWS. And you can definitely reach out to all of these. Data Profit, doing machine learning on scale for manufacturing, based in Cape Town, and leveraging AWS to grow on scale. You've got Custos Media Tech, really cool guys, embedding a Bitcoin in media to assist to stop piracy globally. They come from Launch Lab. That's an incubator down in Cape Town. You've got Pineapple, who's presenting a bit later at the technical track about how they launched very fast on AWS. Because when you go through your development phase, you want to get out to the market, you want to start making revenue, right? So that you can go and see that as well. You've got a lot of payment suppliers. Flutterwave I want to bring up. They're based in Nigeria. And they are doing payment infrastructure across Africa, also growing really fast. Exciting startup to watch. There's a lot happening in payments. You've got Paygate, you've got Zapper, and then also you've got amazing innovation happening down in Cape Town as well with Cloud One Mobi, doing a retail, call it disruption, with point of sales. And they are also using that. I would like to encourage you to have a look at the videos that these CEOs and founders do publish, and they do that because they're part of the AWS startup community. And that is basically what our proposition is for you as well. Then you've got Luno, you know, Bitcoin exchange, right? There's quite a few of these in South Africa as well. You've got Aerobotics. They're doing machine imaging. Very smart startup. And I'll be interviewing one of the directors, Stuart van der Veen, a bit later, who was also the Nedbank core banking investor who made the effective investment in Aerobotics to help them scale. But they use machine learning and image recognition to cross-correlate and figure out what is on the farm with drone tech. Very cool, very hot startup, my view as well. And then, of course, you know Zumo. They are based from Cape Town, but they're also based in Nairobi, where they do some R&D and tech, CTOs and so on. And effectively, they take all the data coming out of networks, telecom networks, voucher refill data, that kind of stuff, and they provide a service to basically banks for borrowing money as well. And they do this on scale across Africa. Then you've got other startups. TravelStart, you probably know TravelStart. They're really a very late stage startup. And you've got Snapped ADC, They do web acceleration from Cape Town as well. And using all the startup programs, they literally are selling to guys like MTV in NASA from Cape Town. And that is a story that I would say is really good to know. How did they do that? Great. Apex Innovation, a startup that does IoT water tech on scale for municipalities, Somerset West based. And again, they're really growing very fast. Cool stuff. Oops. So, of course, on the world scale, and that's pretty much where we want to get our startups, is to get to this point, right? You've got additional startups that goes all in, like Lyft, and you probably recognize Airbnb. So there's a lot of startups, and there's a pure reason why they're using AWS, is to be able to do the scale and to innovate as fast as possible, because you can spin up services, you can close services very fast, and you will only pay for what you use. So how do we work with all the startups across Africa? Because effectively startups are really everywhere. The ecosystems have a different density. You've got a density in Cape Town, you've got a density in Joburg, you've got Lagos, you've got Accra, you've got Kenya, Nairobi. But actually, if you look at the map, you have startups everywhere. And the way that we or I work and meet you is ideally through accelerators, incubators, angels, VC firms, and all these VC firms have a mechanism to help you to scale. So these are some of the partners. The Startup Bootcamp, you know, they've launched an InsurTech incubator or accelerator down in Cape Town. I want to mention them because, you know, they have a success rate of 90%, meaning that out of 1,000 startups that they interview, if you go into the program, 3 months later, you've passed their program. You would, one, get Activate. We'll talk about Activate just now from AWS. But also you get their network to help you scale. So there's means for startups to help them go forward. Then you've got incubators like Launch Lab. Launch Lab down in Cape Town. You've got Founders Factory up in Johannesburg. So that is more for your early stage, your MVP. You've got a good idea. You need help building it, but also you need to help get the minimum viable product to a market fit. All right, so I would say one of the best ways to help you yourself is to join co-work spaces with their startups, because they run programs. To consider an incubator if you're in that early stage, or to consider accelerators, and then build a slow relationship up with venture capital firms. It is a relationship that you're building. You don't just walk in and pitch. Get a thing like a pitch deck and start building that systematically up. And keep that news, what you're doing, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. It takes 5 minutes to celebrate a success. And people should know about that. But of course, we've got other global accelerators like Techstars as well. Y Combinator, we'll talk about a little bit about them a little bit later as well. Good. So how do we help a startup that's in these programs? The core program is called AWS Activate. It was launched in 2014 globally. It's available for startups in South Africa and Africa. And we'll talk about what it does. It's more than credits. It is also technical support for a startup. And we'll go into that in detail. Then there's the B2B startups. Should really take notice about the AWS Marketplace. We'll talk about the marketplace. That's a mechanism for you to sell globally from a B2B point of view. And you got the Amazon Partner Network. Amazon doesn't deliver the services for you to do, call it the migration or IoT deployment. Our partners do. And startups can be partners. And you can get deal flow as a startup in the partner network. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. How do you get into these programs? And we've got an Amazon Alexa accelerator. That's the only accelerator we got. I could put on things like EdTech accelerator also that you can apply for, which helps on scale. On the right is something very unique. It's Amazon Launchpad. Let's imagine you're building a Fitbit for a cow. How would you sell that globally? And we're going to talk about Amazon Launchpad if you have some ambitions like that. So AWS Activate is a program designed to provide startups with resources you need to build, where we try and take away the costs and give you the resources you need to also get access to technical support. It's credits, so that you don't have to pay for the services that you are building with. It is technical support from the Amazon console. You can call technical support, ask them for help. Everybody wakes up in the morning as a technical founder going, maybe I should do it serverless, for example. That is a good thing. Or I have a problem launching my RDS. So it's not just about supporting when there's a problem, but it's also getting advice when you need it, right? Then there's free AWS training. There's over 100 online training courses that you can download and watch and learn about all this tech. Because the tech moves very fast. Innovation, the pace of innovation is radical. You got office hours. This is something unique for startups, meaning that you can sit with a technical architect as a startup, as a CTO, and just make sure that what you are doing is scalable. Or how do you reduce your cost as a mechanism, So then it's good to sit with an architect. We don't charge for that for startups as well. This is the things that you can do. Startup Spotlight is actually one of my favorites. One of the difficult things of being a startup is, frankly, you don't have the money to do the marketing in a way that you can experiment your marketing pitch. So yesterday, we interviewed, for example, 13 startups, 3 minutes video clip. We'll talk about that later. It goes viral, and it goes onto the AWS Startup blog. So getting into the Startup Spotlight program is really a case of going through Activate, knowing when you're ready, and then triggering a connect with your account manager, which is also what I do. I help you connect with your personal account manager. And of course, you joined a wonderful startup community. It's a vibrant community. You've got AWS user groups that you can join to get help and also share experiences. So let's talk about this thing called credits. You can get up to $15,000 of credits over a period of 2 years. It depends on which program you're joining, because you don't always need $15,000 of credits for 2 years. To just launch a website, for example, would cost you $5 per month. So 15,000 is a lot. You also have an option, if you're a later stage startup, to gain access to $100,000 over a year. That's for that year where you're going to build your machine learning, where you're going to scale globally, where you're going to deploy in different regions. You have to really pick carefully between these options. Once you're in the 1 year, you're in the 1 year. Okay, so there's an online free cost calculator that you can use to work out what is the right option when you are getting access to Activate through angels, accelerators, incubators, VC firms, even co-work spaces. And if they don't know about it, they can join these programs, right? And the thing that I really like, especially when you're building, is the technical support 24/7 for 1 year, up to $5,000, which you can trigger as well. And that is really valuable stuff, especially when you're building. So what are these growth programs I'm talking about? We talked about Startup Spotlight. That is the PR side of things, where we write a story about you, where we, for example, would promote a startup like Pineapple to share what they are doing, and also how they're doing it as a means for helping other startups. You've got access to digital marketing credits with partners as well. For example, Snapped is a digital partner that will give you digital marketing credits. So you don't really have to use your credit card to get that first message out, to be a little bit focused and learn from that experience. But it depends, of course, what you are building. Are you B2C? What is the audience you want to reach? But that, you know. There's quite a few of these in terms of growth program, but I just want to highlight this one as well. Then for retail, as I mentioned, there's Amazon Launchpad. We're going to go into that now. Marketplace, it's a startup sellers market. And how we do this, and how we do the spotlight, for example, is through the events that we do. So we've got pitch your project events, which you can get where you learn how to do a pitch. That's really important, elevator pitch for a startup. You don't always have a lot of time to impress somebody. You've got the loft, which you see today in Johannesburg, where you get a chance to also meet other Amazonians, but also become part of the stage. For example, what Pineapple is doing, Data Profit is doing, right? Then there's something called Startup Stories, where we literally write a 6-pager about your story as a founder. It's less technical, more about you as a journey. And again, the purpose of this is to help other startups take the right journey towards success. And then this is the program that I said I love like crazy. It's Startups on Air. And it's a 3-minute video with a phone from you towards the founder that goes onto the AWS Startup blog. And behind that, you got other startups, you got potential investors looking at these video clips. But it's also a mechanism to practice the pitch. And of course, we have blogs. So if you have a cool story, then you can basically have a blog on the AWS website, right? So this is the program I talked about. It's Startups on Air. It's Periscope. It's a very quick, very efficient mechanism to make an introduction to a startup, their idea. Sorry about that. And there's a lot of followers behind the AWS startups on Twitter. So I recommend subscribe to Startups Twitter and have a look at some of the videos that might trigger interest for you. If somebody's doing something similar in your field, or maybe as an investor, something is interesting for future investments and so on. So last year we did Startups on Air and in Cape Town. And as you can see, there's about, I think, 12 startups on here. And each of them had immediate exposure to new markets due to that clips. And you can follow that again on, for example, Periscope. Remember I talked about the events. Just want to explain a little bit about the events because we're not all based in Joburg. So yes, we have the loft this year in Johannesburg. It's a pop-up loft. It's not permanent. It's for a month. It's free. It's here to help you, to educate you, also learn and meet with AWS. That might be somewhere else next year. It might be in Cape Town or whatever the case is, right? And then we've got this Startup Day, which you're part of today, with the 2 tracks, technical track, business track. It's an opportunity where you can, again, learn as a startup how to build very quickly and scale quickly. And later there will, for example, be an interview with Anna Groenewald about marketing, which is really cool, because I didn't know that when I started my startup. Pretty cool stuff. Then you've got a very big event coming up. It's called AWS Summit. It's down in Cape Town. 3,000 to 4,000 enterprises come there, CIOs, CTOs, developers. It's a lot of tracks. But what do we do as startups there? Well, we have a thing called Startup Central. So what I do is I give you a space. I make sure that everything looks very fancy. And then you will have basically people coming out of the shows to meet you. And probably get deal flow from that. This is our commitment to you. Of course, I can't do 1,000. I would love to. But we're getting there systematically. And then, of course, you've got your reInvent event. So startups like Custos, MediaTek, he went over there, presented to 60,000 people in Las Vegas. That's quite a massive opportunity for some startups, right? You go from incubator, it's amazing, to 60,000 on stage, and people want to figure out, how do you do that? Wow, that's cool. And of course, in the audience, there will always be investors. And then you've got your awesome days. They run really everywhere. It's just a day. It's walk in, it's free, it's technical tracks, how to build, how to scale, how to grow. And we run this in Cape Town, Joburg, Nairobi, Lagos, and it will continue to expand. We really have an ambition to get this more. There's also a digital, first time ever, Awesome Day online. So just search Awesome Day digital, and you can join, you can sit and learn for the day. So let's talk about this thing called B2C. As I said earlier, I just want to show this as a mechanism of scale. So up to $5,000 digital marketing credits for a startup trying to reach a certain segment market, right? That's significant value contribution that the partners do. And it's difficult to find these programs. You don't know about all these programs out there. We've got a dedicated team that looks at these programs and start doing recommendations for you in terms of how to access these programs. So it's really cool. Then this is a program that I would say if you think about it like this, connections. My startup really failed because I couldn't get through all the doors, all the top CIOs. And it took a lot of time and I didn't do sales. Simple. So connections is designed like this. If you tell me what is the ideal must-meet enterprise. On the other hand, the enterprise team ask their enterprises, what is the ideal tech from a startup we would like to meet? It's a no obligation thing. When there's a match-up, there's a conference call, video conference with you and so on. I'm not involved in that program after that. I don't know if it's a success from immediate point of view. It is actually just about a connection. I can meet the CIO of XYZ, and you get this opportunity to do that. But it's really then again a case of saying, not just South Africa. Think about the world, because it helps to be able to target the whole world if you're building a startup. So this is really cool. Scale your startup, grow your revenues, AWS Marketplace. Let's assume you're a SaaS startup, right? You have a product, it's running part or in AWS. You want to reach 160,000 plus other enterprises and companies that is already using AWS. For example, you can get listed